Welcome everyone to this mini book. Today we're going to take a deep dive into a really fascinating source, Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable by Tim Grover and Shari Wenk. Our mission here is to pull out the biggest, most impactful insights from this work, and it really does promise to transform how you think about elite performance, whether that's in sports or business or honestly any part of life where you really want to push yourself. We're going to unpack what being unstoppable actually means, according to Grover, and maybe how you can apply some of these, well, these pretty intense principles. And we really do want to say thank you for listening. We appreciate every single person that listens and subscribes. Your curiosity is what keeps these deep dives going.
Absolutely. And this book, it's definitely not your standard motivational read, is it? It's provocative, almost confrontational, really, in how it looks at the mindset you need for just extreme, sustained success. Grover's pulling from decades of, real hands-on experience, working with absolute icons like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwyane Wade, and he really challenges a lot of the conventional ideas about motivation and achievement. It gets down to something much more raw, almost primal.
Okay, let's jump right in then. This core idea he introduces right away, the cleaner. It feels like more than just a label, right? Like a completely different way of operating. How does he separate that from just being good or even great? What makes someone a cleaner?
Yeah, that's the key distinction. What's really interesting is that a cleaner isn't just focused on getting to the top. It's about staying there. And not just staying there, but constantly finding a higher top. The core concept he uses is this insatiable addiction to success.
Addiction. That's a powerful word choice.
It is. It's not just ambition, like we normally think of it. It's deeper, almost compulsive. This need to win, to achieve, to, frankly, dominate. Cleaners, they refuse to accept limitations. And they do whatever it takes, quietly, relentlessly. They don't broadcast it. They just do it.
Insatiable addiction to success. That phrase really sticks. It sounds almost obsessive, maybe. Is Grover saying this level of drive is always, a good thing? Or are there downsides to that kind of intense focus?
That's a really important point. He's not necessarily pushing for like a balanced life in the way we usually talk about balance, at least not when you're in that peak performance pursuit. What he's giving us is a blueprint for extreme achievement. He says it directly in the book. Being the best means engineering your life so you never stop until you get what you want, and then you keep going until you get what's next, and then you go for even more.
Wow. So it's perpetual motion.
Exactly. It's a constant state of striving. The finish line isn't the end. It's just a marker before you keep going. Like he mentions when Kobe Bryant, who already had multiple championships, said he wanted 6 rings.
Yeah.
Grover's immediate reaction wasn't great goal. It was basically, why not 7?
Push harder.
And
Always.
Always.
Yeah.
It's this belief that there's always another level. Always more to prove, but really, to yourself, it's not about satisfaction. It's about turning that drive into relentless action, relentless results, and just refusing to put any limits on yourself.
Okay, that sets the stage really clearly for the ultimate level, the cleaner. So if that's the pinnacle, how does Grover categorize everyone else? He talks about 3 archetypes, doesn't he, for how people approach challenges. Can you kind of walk us through those? Help us see where most people might fit.
Right, and this really gets into self-awareness in those high-pressure moments. He lays out coolers, closers, and cleaners. It's a spectrum of effectiveness, you could say.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, most people, most of the time, aren't cleaners. It's rare.
Okay, so start us off with the coolers. What do they look like?
Coolers are, well, they're careful. They tend to be hesitant, maybe a bit passive. They often wait for instructions, wait to be told what to do. They look around, see what others are doing, and prefer to follow the leader instead of setting the pace themselves. They can be good mediators, trying to find common ground. Which sounds positive, but in a really competitive situation, Grover argues, it often means they avoid taking that crucial game-winning shot.
They shy away from the pressure moment.
Exactly. They worry a lot about the competition, and here's a key thing. They often let other people define their success for them. Their biggest fear isn't really failing, it's making a mistake, looking bad.
I think we can all recognize aspects of that, maybe in ourselves sometimes, or definitely in others. So if coolers are hesitant, what about closers? That sounds like a step up, more active.
Definitely a significant step up. Closers can handle pressure, a lot of it sometimes,
Yep.
and they do get the job done. But usually it's when the situation is right and they have clear instructions or a clear path. They're often very competent, very reliable. And unlike coolers, they will study the competition. They'll analyze weaknesses, plan their approach. But there's often a desire for external validation. They seek attention, credit for their successes.
Yeah.
And they might, prioritize financial security or comfort over that absolute win-at-all-costs mentality.
So they'll take the shot.
They will take the shot, yeah. But usually only if they feel they have a pretty good chance of making it. They calculate the risk, they perform well, often very well, but there's often a condition attached to their peak performance. It's not always on.
Right. So it sounds like a lot of successful people we see, people we admire in sports or business, probably fit into that closer category. They're excellent top performers, but maybe with that conditional element you mentioned. What is it then that truly pushes someone into that final rarefied air of the cleaner?
That's the leap. And Grover argues it's less about skill and more about a fundamental mindset shift. Cleaners are these rare, intensely driven competitors. They don't just study the competition.
They make the competition study them. I remember reading that.
Exactly. They genuinely don't care who they're up against because they have this deep internal belief, this instinct that they can handle anyone or anything. They trust their gut. They act without overthinking. And critically, they never, ever feel like they've truly arrived or achieved ultimate success.
Always more to do.
Always more to do, always another peak. They don't wait for opportunities. They bulldoze their way through obstacles to create them. It's driven by what Grover calls an instinctive drive to do whatever it takes, anything, to get to the top. Think about those towering figures in business, like a Bill Gates or the late Steve Jobs. That kind of relentless drive. They don't often praise you for just doing your job. They just expect excellence constantly. It's like an internal compass that's just permanently fixed on the next harder challenge.
This idea of trusting your gut and not thinking, it leads us right into another really interesting and, provocative part of the book. Grover tells us point blank, don't think, and embrace something he calls a dark side. That feels counterintuitive, doesn't it, to how we're usually coached?
Oh, absolutely. It cuts against the grain of overanalyzing everything.
Yeah.
If you connect it back, Grover's point is almost like we're born relentless, taught to relent.
Explain that a bit.
Well, think about a baby. A baby is purely relentless, right? Driven by immediate instincts. They scream until their needs are met. There's no self-doubt, no second-guessing, no overthinking the strategy.
Yeah, that's true. Pure instinct.
Pure instinct. Grover suggests that as we grow up, all the thinking, the analyzing, the worrying about what others think, it builds these cages around us.
Yeah.
It holds us back. So the key is to break out of that cage. Stop the mental chatter and trust that raw primal instinct. Like a predator in the wild, it doesn't draw up a complex plan, it just acts on instinct. He uses Michael Jordan as the prime example. Jordan didn't get bogged down studying every opponent's move. He mastered his own skills to the point where they became automatic, pure instinct. He forced everyone else to react to him.
So it's almost like achieving that state of flow where the analytical part of the brain quiets down and you just perform. You just do.
But what about this dark side terminology? Embracing a dark side sounds, well, a little ominous.
It does sound intense, yeah. But he's quick to clarify. It's not about being evil or malicious or anything like that. The dark side is that untamed part of you, the part that refuses to be ordinary, that refuses to settle. It's your killer instinct, as he puts it. It's that raw, powerful drive that often stays hidden, internal, until you consciously decide to unleash it.
Okay, so it's about acknowledging those powerful, maybe even uncomfortable desires for success, for power, maybe even fame, and harnessing them.
Exactly. Harnessing them so you control your actions, fueled by that intensity, rather than being unconsciously driven or controlled by those desires. He describes it as the ability to just drop all the bullshit and inhibitions and allow yourself to just do what you do. Voluntarily or involuntarily, just raw execution.
Can you give an example, like how that plays out?
Well, think about Tiger Woods in his absolute prime, before the personal scandals hit. Okay.
On the golf course, he channeled that dark side into this almost superhuman focus and competitive fire. You could feel that killer instinct. It was palpable. But then, when his private life became public, that external pressure seemed to kind of dilute or disrupt that internal focus, that dark side energy. And his dominance on the course just evaporated for a while.
I see. So it shows how powerful it is when focused, but also maybe how it can be disrupted.
Right. It's about being unafraid of your own intensity and using it as fuel.
That makes more sense. It's about channeling powerful, maybe usually suppressed drives. Okay, so given this raw, intense approach, it sounds incredibly demanding. Physically, mentally, does being relentless mean you just have to be uncomfortable all the time?
Pretty much, yes. Grover is really clear on this point. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, period. He basically laughs at the idea of easy workouts or comfortable diets. He calls them insults. If a program uses words like easy or comfort, he says it's not pushing you hard enough to actually change anything significant.
Insults, that's strong.
It is. And he gives these intense examples, like putting athletes through a sugar detox where they have withdrawal symptoms, like drug addicts, or making someone recovering from injury repeatedly jump off a high platform, like a 48-inch cylinder.
Yeah.
He knew it wasn't just physical rehab. It was about confronting and overcoming deep-seated fear, mental rewiring.
Wow. Those examples really drive home the intensity. It really does challenge that common human desire to avoid stress, seek comfort. So for a cleaner, stress isn't the enemy to be managed away.
Not at all. It's the raw material. Grover has that great line, pressure can bust pipes, but it can also make diamonds. And he even says stress is what brings you to life, which is just completely counter to how most people think about stress, right?
Totally. We usually think of stress as the thing that grinds us down.
But for Grover, for the cleaner, it's necessary. It's the catalyst for growth, for achieving those huge results. It's about building that mental armor by constantly pushing into discomfort until what was uncomfortable just becomes the new baseline. You actively seek the edges.
Okay, so embracing discomfort, harnessing instinct. What about dealing with mistakes or building relationships in a world that often emphasizes teamwork, collaboration, empathy? How does a cleaner operate? It sounds like it could be a pretty lonely path.
It's definitely a different operating system for relationships and accountability. When it comes to mistakes, a cleaner has absolute, immediate self-accountability. No gray areas. If they mess up, they just own it. Flat out, I messed up. Or, as Grover quotes the locker room talk, often more bluntly, I fucked up.
No excuses.
Zero excuses. No long stories, no blaming circumstances or other people, just immediate ownership. And the interesting thing is, he argues this actually alleviates pressure, clears the air instantly, and lets them pivot straight to finding a solution. He even gives an example of himself missing a timing cue with Dwayne Wade in a crucial game moment.
Yeah.
He didn't hesitate, just immediately told Wade, my mistake, my miscalculation, done, move on, fix it.
That kind of directness is powerful, even if it's tough. But how does that work with teammates, coaches, business partners? That fierce individualism, does it clash with needing a team?
It can seem like it clashes, but Grover presents it differently. In terms of close relationships, cleaners trust very, very few people. They might view others almost strategically as resources or partners in achieving the goal, rather than through a lens of deep personal connection, at least in the professional sphere. He famously told his athletes, I don't need to be your friend. You already have plenty of friends to tell you how great you are.
Wow. Direct.
Very direct. His relationship is purely professional, laser-focused on results. He called his training environment a dictatorship with 3 rules. Show up, work hard, and listen. And he demanded respect for the entire process, for his staff. He wouldn't tolerate players acting superior or dismissive, what he called big-timing the staff, because that undermines the whole support system needed for results.
So it's respect for the process and the goal, not necessarily for feelings.
Precisely. It's a rigorous, no-nonsense approach. You see it with Jordan, Kobe, Wade. It was all about achieving the objective, not winning a popularity contest. It creates this environment where expectations are crystal clear, and anything less than total commitment just isn't acceptable. If you're not pulling your weight, a cleaner has no problem telling you directly.
It really sounds like for a cleaner, the journey just never stops. There's no final destination, is there? They're always pushing. Even after hitting milestones others would see as the absolute peak.
That's exactly it. It's a perpetual pursuit. The concept of failure as an endpoint doesn't really exist for them. Setbacks happen, sure, but they're just situations, problems to be solved, data to learn from. You mentioned Michael Jordan earlier. After that rare playoff loss to the Orlando Magic in '95, when people were maybe writing him off.
Yeah, I remember that.
He didn't sit around analyzing his failure. He didn't wallow. According to the stories, he basically told the Magic players right after, enjoy this win, because it ain't going to happen again.
And then he came back and won 3 more championships.
Exactly. That's the cleaner mindset. For them, Grover stresses, success isn't the same as talent. Lots of talented people never reach the top.
Why? Because they lack that relentless drive. They make excuses.
That's a big part of it. They blame others, they find reasons why it wasn't their fault, or they just aren't willing to do the brutal work required. Cleaners are fueled by this almost compulsive need to improve on excellence. They're never satisfied. Always scrutinizing details, looking for the next edge, the next level.
So it's not just about getting to great, it's about constantly redefining great for themselves. And This perpetual chase, always looking ahead, not getting stuck on the bumps in the road. How does that translate into his actual training programs, like the jump attack you mentioned?
It's baked into the core philosophy. The jump attack program, for example, isn't just physical drills. It has these distinct mental phases built in. Don't think, attack, relentless. It's designed to constantly push athletes past what they think their limits are, both physically and mentally. It's about training the mind to command the body, embedding that instinctual drive. The focus is always on the ultimate destination, the next win, the next title, the next breakthrough, not on complaining about how hard the journey is. The bumpy road is just assumed. It's part of the price, not an unexpected obstacle.
We've covered a lot of ground here today, unpacking what it really means to be relentless, to operate like a cleaner. This book, it really hammers home that elite performance isn't just some innate gift. It's a choice, a really demanding, relentless commitment.
Absolutely. I think this deep dive really shows that whether you're talking sports, business, or just life goals, the real difference maker often comes down to those intangibles. Things like absolute commitment, that unwavering persistence, profound mental toughness. It's about being willing to endure the discomfort, to always demand more from yourself, and to take radical responsibility for everything, recognizing, as Grover puts it, that you control your body and mind, not the other way around. And that often, the toughest battles are the ones you fight inside your own head.
So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you listening right now? What are you willing to decide, commit to, and then crucially act on in your own life to push past those perceived limits, to become maybe just a little bit more unstoppable? Thank you so much for joining us for this mini book. We truly appreciate you listening and subscribing, and really hope this conversation gives you some things to think about, maybe spark something new, and helps you on whatever path you're on to becoming, well, truly unstoppable.